Every great story begins with a spark of adventure. But first, don't forget to like, subscribe, and also leave a comment. And Aron Ralston's journey was ignited by his unrelenting desire to explore the unknown. Born in Marion, Indiana in 1975, Aron grew up surrounded by rolling fields and quiet suburbs. His childhood was not remarkable in the traditional sense, but there was always something extraordinary about his spirit. Aron wasn't content with simply playing baseball or riding bikes around the neighborhood. Instead, he chased sunsets, built forts deep in the woods, and climbed trees as if they were his personal stairway to the sky. Aron's parents often found themselves torn between pride and worry. On one hand, his fearless nature and boundless curiosity were admirable. On the other, they knew that such traits often led to danger. "He's a free spirit," his mother would say with a mix of admiration and concern. But Aron was unstoppable. He was drawn to the wild, to the untamed corners of the world, where few dared to venture. The mountains call. As Aron grew older, his love for nature evolved into a passion for climbing. It started with modest hills and cliffs near his Colorado home, but soon he sought bigger challenges. The Rocky Mountains became his playground, their peaks a constant source of inspiration and ambition. Aron wasn't just a climber, he was a student of the mountains. He studied weather patterns, learned to navigate treacherous terrain, and mastered survival skills. But Aron's approach to climbing set him apart. Unlike most adventurers who traveled in groups for safety, Aron preferred solitude. To him, climbing was as much a spiritual journey as it was a physical one. The quiet, the stillness, the sense of being utterly alone, it was a feeling Aron craved. "When I'm out there," he once said, "it's just me and the mountain. No distractions, no noise, just pure freedom." However, this independence came at a cost. Aron's friends and family often worried about his solo excursions. "What if something happens?" they'd ask. Aron would always brush off their concerns. He was confident in his abilities, perhaps too confident. The journey to Blue John Canyon. April 25, 2003, was a day like any other in Utah's Blue John Canyon. The desert sun blazed high in the sky, casting long shadows over the rugged landscape. Aron, 27 years old at the time, was eager to explore the narrow, twisting passageways of the canyon. He packed lightly: a water bottle, a few snacks, a cheap pocket knife, and a small first aid kit. For Aron, this was just another adventure, another chance to immerse himself in the beauty of nature. As he drove toward the canyon, music blared from his car speakers, and the wind rushed through the open windows. Aron was in his element, the vast expanse of the desert stretching endlessly around him. He didn't tell anyone about his plans, he never did. It wasn't arrogance, it was habit. The canyon was a masterpiece of nature, with its towering sandstone walls and narrow crevices. Aron moved through it with practiced ease, navigating the terrain like a seasoned explorer. But deep within the maze of the canyon, fate was waiting. The moment everything changed, it happened in an instant. Aron was descending into a narrow slot of the canyon when he grabbed hold of a large boulder for support. Suddenly, the rock shifted, dislodging from its precarious perch. Before Aron could react, the boulder tumbled down, pinning his right arm against the canyon wall. The pain was immediate and searing. Aron let out a guttural scream, his voice echoing through the empty canyon. He tried to pull his arm free, but the rock wouldn't budge. Panic surged through him as he realized the enormity of his situation. He was trapped, miles away from help, with no way to call for rescue. And recorded this video.
My name's Aron Ralston. My parents are Donna and Larry Ralston of Englewood, Colorado. Whoever finds this, please make an attempt to get it to them. Be sure.
He thought this canyon would be his end. The first night, as the sun dipped below the horizon, the desert's temperature plummeted. Aron was left exposed to the freezing night air, his thin clothing offering little protection. He shivered uncontrollably, his body racked with cold and pain. Aron tried to stay positive. He believed someone might stumble upon him, or that he'd find a way to free himself. But as the hours dragged on, hope began to waver. The silence of the canyon was deafening, broken only by the occasional howl of the wind. Aron realized he was utterly alone. The battle against despair. By the second day, Aaron's situation had grown dire. His water supply was dwindling, and his attempts to move the boulder had been futile. He used his pocket knife to chip away at the rock, but it barely made a dent. The isolation began to take a toll on his mind. Aaron's thoughts became a whirlwind of fear, regret, and longing. He thought about his family, about the life he had left behind. Faces of loved ones flashed through his mind. His mother's warm smile, his father's steady voice, the laughter of his friends. On the third day, Aaron's desperation reached new heights. His water was gone, and his body was growing weaker. He resorted to drinking his own urine, a humiliating but necessary act of survival. The turning point. By the fourth day, Aaron had reached his breaking point. His arm was swollen and discolored, and the pain was unbearable. He knew he couldn't survive much longer. But even in the face of death, Aaron's mind refused to surrender. In a moment of clarity, he realized there was only one way to escape. He would have to amputate his own arm. The thought was horrifying, but it was also liberating. If he could endure the pain, he could save himself. The ultimate sacrifice. With his dull pocket knife, he cut through muscle, nerves, and tendons. After an hour of excruciating work, he was finally free. The fight for survival. Aaron stumbled out of the canyon, his severed arm wrapped in makeshift bandages. He was weak, dehydrated, and bleeding, but he refused to give up. The desert stretched endlessly before him, the blazing sun beating down mercilessly. After hours of walking, Aaron saw a family hiking in the distance. He waved frantically, his voice hoarse from dehydration. The family rushed to his aid, and soon after, a rescue helicopter arrived. A new beginning. Aaron's ordeal left him physically scarred, but spiritually reborn. He lost an arm, but he gained a profound appreciation for life. Aaron's story became a symbol of human resilience, inspiring millions through his book Between a Rock and a Hard Place and the Hollywood film 127 Hours. So what would you do if you were Aaron? Would you be as brave as him? Leave a comment.